They say every confrontation with your shadow is an opportunity for growth, even if it might not feel like it or seem like it, and you might think that you're taking so many steps backwards, or you find yourself in a depression and you feel like a failure. But these are very important moments because you're being confronted with a deep and dark part of your shadow. And if you can see this as an opportunity to deal with it then and there, to integrate this, then you'll become so much stronger from it. But this is all part of understanding your shadow. So imagine you decide to go for a run one day, and the past few days you didn't have much to drink, so naturally you're dehydrated, but you're not aware of this. So when you start on your run, you start to feel a bit weak and dizzy, and you feel a lot less motivated to do the full run, even though that might be your goal. And eventually, you'll get to a point where you either want to give up because of all these symptoms making you so uncomfortable and holding you back, or you try to fight it and just push through the whole thing, and you end up feeling really bad afterwards. Now, if you give up in this example, then you might blame yourself. You might feel really bad and think, why am I so lazy? Why am I so weak? Even though it was only so hard because your body was dehydrated, because pushing yourself to do this run would have been unproductive. And you can try to think of all these self-sabotaging behaviors in a similar way. They're symptoms. They're symptoms of a problem that you can't see or you're not aware of. And although you can try to fight these kind of symptoms and push through it, you're not going to get very far in the long run. You can't maintain it. And this is why these kind of things feel so hard. You can push yourself to be productive and to do better for a bit, but you always end up falling back into your old patterns. So instead, try to find the root cause of it. Just like in the running example, if you can recognize that all of these things are being caused by dehydration, you can actually fix that problem and the symptoms will disappear. And next time, it'll be easier for you to reach those goals. So I want you to think of it in a similar way. These obstacles in your day-to-day that are keeping you stuck, these are like symptoms, and you want to find the root cause of it that lies in your shadow. Because once you can figure this out, you can address this, and not only will the symptoms go away, but you'll be stronger from it. So if you're in a rut, ask yourself, what's in the way right now? What does the dragon look like that's right in front of you? Maybe it looks like shame or guilt or fear or insecurities. These are all things you can figure out by really listening to all your thoughts. I did a video on a journal routine for exactly this step that I'll link in the description if you want to use it to check it out. But basically, you want to sit down, grab a pen and paper, and write down all of your thoughts in a free flow without filtering them, because this will show you what's going on in your mind. And then from there, you can start to identify, these are the problems, these are the things I'm avoiding, this is how I'm feeling. Because all of these things, even if they're uncomfortable, especially if they're uncomfortable, this is what you need to be dealing with right now if you want to get out of this rut. A quote I really love is, "A problem only exists as long as it takes to learn its lesson." And I found that this is so true, and it's why we fall into the same kind of patterns of problems, and we get stuck in these cycles because we're not seeing the lesson. We're not actually growing from it. So we're going to be confronted with this same part of ourselves over and over again until we can actually deal with it, until we integrate it. So how do you overcome or integrate your shadow that's holding you back? You need to recognize what's in the way, and then in small steps, you start breaking down this wall one brick at a time. And I stress small steps so much here because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for failure and you risk damaging your own self-image. You make it harder for yourself because you need to understand that you only self-sabotage when your conscious goals are in conflict with your unconscious motivations. Whenever this happens is when you start to self-sabotage. So if you're doing something which you don't like that you do, it's because of these unconscious motivations. It's because of your shadow. And the only way you can change this, the way you can stop self-sabotaging, is through shadow work. It's integrating your shadow, retrieving it from the unconscious and making it conscious where it can actually be controlled and developed. You can use it intentionally. Otherwise, anytime you have a goal and there are suppressed parts of yourself that are in conflict with this goal, you're always going to hold yourself back. So until you address these unconscious motivations, you cannot change. If it were that easy, if you could do that, you wouldn't be watching this video. You would just instantly be who you wanted to be, no problem. But clearly that doesn't work. So start by understanding why you get in your own way, why you hold yourself back, and then you take steps to actually doing something about that. It's having expectations for yourself that you can't meet, which is keeping you stuck. You can't fight it, and you have to accept that. But it is a good thing because your shadow wants to be seen. It's showing you what you need to deal with in order to reach your goals, just like the hydration example. So here's my advice from all my experience getting stuck in these kind of ruts and patterns, and this is what I try to practice that's really helped me. The first thing is, like I said, recognize what you're dealing with. You can do this by journaling and letting out all of your thoughts and trying to find the main themes behind it. You want to confront these things even if it's really uncomfortable and even if you might want to just avoid it instead. This is what you need to deal with in order to move forwards. And the second thing is replacing all of your unhealthy distractions with neutral or healthy distractions. So, what I mean with this is a part of self soothing. Whenever we feel uncomfortable or triggered or upset, we tend to self soothe. And unhealthy ways of doing this might look like engaging in reckless behavior, binge drinking, overeating, even harming yourself. All of these things distract you from the discomfort you're experiencing, but they have a negative effect in the long run. That's what makes them unhealthy. Neutral distractions, on the other hand, don't really have a positive or negative effect for you in the long run, but they distract you from your current discomfort. These are things like watching your favorite TV show or movie, taking a nice bath, going for a walk, or reading your favorite book. All these kind of things can help take your mind off of what you're dealing with, at least until you're in a better place to actually deal with things. And just to add it, healthy distractions help you avoid this discomfort, but actually have a positive effect in the long run. These can be things like exercise, meditation, talking to a friend. All of these kind of things can actually help build you up. But the reason I say neutral distractions is because I find that these are easier to start replacing your habits, because especially when you're so used to reaching for unhealthy distractions when you're upset, it can be hard to go from going out and drinking to going for a morning run. That's quite a big leap, and I don't think that's realistic for most people. So it's okay to instead opt for neutral distractions, because if you can do this, at least you're not hurting yourself in doing so. And this is so important because when you start to confront these darker parts of yourself, when you practice shadow work, you're going to experience a lot more discomfort, because these are the things that you usually avoid, you run from, and you need to have ways of dealing with this when it comes up. So, with all things in your life, try to identify your unhealthy distractions, your unhealthy ways you self soothe, and instead, bit for bit, replace them with more neutral ones. If you want, throw in some healthy distractions as well. That's only a good thing, but you'll know best where you're at with this. And the third thing is to start taking small steps towards who you want to be by confronting your shadow that's holding you back. For example, let's say you feel ashamed and you're thinking, oh, I hate how lazy I am. Then you want to challenge this belief by doing little things, small steps to change it. And this could be, for example, every day doing 10 squats. It can really be small, but if you can do this consistently, then you can start building up this quality in yourself. And with this, it really doesn't matter if you do 10 jumping jacks or spend an hour in the gym every day. What matters is that you are the kind of person who does what they say. This is what you want to focus on above all. Maybe you haven't developed your self trust very much. Maybe as a kid, you got in trouble a lot for making mistakes or doing the wrong thing, so you learned to not trust yourself. And this is carried into your life as an adult. And now it shows up in these unproductive ways because you haven't developed this quality in yourself. And it also makes you doubt yourself all the time. You avoid any kind of responsibility, and you might give up on any kind of project you start because you don't believe you'll do it anyways. But that's okay. This is because this part of yourself hasn't had the chance to mature. It's still undeveloped. And this is the nature of the shadow. It can show up in unproductive and destructive ways, not because it's bad, but because it's somewhat inferior. The goal is to recognize this and to start developing this quality in yourself. This is how you will get better at it, and this is how you can control it. So try to accept where you are now, because the past really doesn't matter when you think about it. Even if you feel like every day up until today has been a failure, it doesn't matter. Other than maybe this is what you now identify with, this is who you think you are, or you're dwelling in these thoughts, playing them over and over. But everything that has happened does not matter in this moment now. You can see this as a fresh start. And if you want, I find affirmations can be really helpful for this because it can be so easy to identify with your thoughts and to get stuck in them, because most of the thoughts you have are just thinking patterns. They're echoes playing over and over again. And if you, for example, have a tendency to criticize yourself, to put yourself down, then that's what most of your thoughts are going to be repeating over and over. And that's how they're created, through repetition. But if you start feeding yourself positive thoughts, encouraging and uplifting thoughts, over time, this is what they'll begin to reflect. So you want to decide, this is who I want to be, and accept that you are starting at level 1. This is the person you aspire to be, and you're going to get there. But it takes time and practice, and it'll be a journey of building yourself up and improving to get there. You can't have these expectations for yourself to already be the best version of who you want to be, because this is what's going to hold you back. I really like to think of this like a game. Give yourself permission to start from zero, to start small, and to work your way up, and also find the joy in doing so. And let go of all of the guilt and shame and fears that are holding you back. For example, if I say, I want to be someone who is disciplined, then just like a game, this is the skill or quality I'm choosing to develop in my character. So how do you start? You can make it fun. You can sit down and brainstorm a bunch of level 1 steps for discipline, for example. And this is what I mean with starting small, because you have to build this up. This is what's so important. And maybe this might look like waking up with an alarm in the morning. It doesn't even have to be early, but the point is that you set an alarm and you get up when it goes off. No hitting snooze. This is a good level 1 step for discipline. Or drinking 10 glasses of water every day, or getting dressed every day, going outside for a walk every day. All of these things that are within your comfort zone and feel possible to just start building up this trait. So try to do these things for a while until they become easy. And that's how you know you've leveled up to reach that point. This is actually how I started exercising. I would do a super easy workout every night, and I do that for a week, and only then would I increase it ever so slightly. And the biggest benefit it had for me was building the mental habit of working out more than doing the actual exercise. But this was just as important, because even though I know a lot of people are quick to dismiss this, they don't acknowledge the influence your shadow has over you. If you didn't have a shadow, for example, then sure, physically, you might be able to work out 3 hours every day and do that, always pushing yourself to improve the most you can. But you don't. And this is how it is with so many things. You can easily think of the most you can do, the most productive you can be, but you don't do these things. And it's not because you're a bad person or you're just lazy. It's because what you don't have is the willpower, the self trust, the ability to pick yourself up after defeat and failures. And these are like the mental skills that you're missing in order to reach these goals. So, like with discipline, for example, if you do these things enough until you reach level 2 discipline, then you can just repeat it. Think of good level 2 steps to do and do that enough until it becomes easy. Only then will you level up. Because each time it's supposed to match where you're at now. Because you're not jumping from level 1 to level 10. Instead, the practices you're doing are supposed to match where you are now. You gradually want to build these things up. So, this is how you can pull yourself out of a rut. First thing is letting go of expectations. Obviously, they're real life commitments. Those things are important, but I mean all the expectations and the pressures that you put on yourself. Really release them, let it go. When's the last time you've let yourself just be with no expectations and no guilt? That is where you need to start. Next, recognize your current obstacles. What is the problem that's right in front of you? What parts of your shadow are you being confronted with? This is what you need to deal with. And then, number 3, you want to confront and develop these shadow qualities. Just like leveling up in a game, you want to do this in small steps and through a lot of practice. This is how you get positive experience. And this can also make it feel so much more fun and easier to do. I promise it doesn't have to be as hard as you're probably making it for yourself. So I really hope this helps. I've also been in a bit of a rut lately, so this video is just as much a reminder for myself as it is for you. And thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next week. Bye.